Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second annual Greater West Bloomfield State of the Communities. Welcoming us tonight into Abbott Middle School for tonight's event is the superintendent of the West Bloomfield Schools, Dr. Jerome Hill.
I now have the distinct honor of welcoming our moderator for tonight's event, Brooke Allen. Brooke is the midday news anchor on WWJ News Radio 950 Detroit and the host of Greater West Bloomfield's news magazine show, The Splash, airing new episodes every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on Civic Center TV. Brooke has also previously held positions at radio stations in California and here in Michigan, including a stint as host of Morning Edition on Lansing's NPR station WKAR. Ladies and gentlemen, Brooke Allen.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brooke Allen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight, we celebrate and learn more about our 4 communities and receive important information about the future of the township and also the Tri-Cities. So thank you so much for being with us, gentlemen. It's an honor to have you here, especially given the circumstances. Real quick, I do want to talk about Sunshine Week. That is a transparency issue. It is a celebration of access to public information. And this is not only a local celebration, it's also a national celebration with involvement from communities all around the county. And we will talk more about Sunshine Week coming up. So as the superintendent mentioned, I did host NPR's Morning Edition at WKAR at Michigan State, but now I am the midday anchor on WWJ and also the host of The Splash. It is our news magazine, which features stories, segments. Of course, we love being out and about around town, and that's where we get to meet a lot of fabulous people in our community. So thank you again so much for every time you see us, and you're so willing to talk to us, so we certainly appreciate that. Of course, you can see The Splash. It airs weekdays, Tuesdays, 5:30 p.m. on Comcast Channel 15, AT&T Channel 99, always online in high definition on Civic Center TV. So thank you so much. And you can also watch all our previous segments, because we know you want to, and you can click on demand at civiccenter.com to catch all of those. So before we move on to the first portion of our main panel this evening, I would like to tell you who is on stage with me. Of course, we have the City of Sylvan Lake Mayor, Aaron Lorenz. Thank you so much for being here, Mayor. And of course, from the Charter Township of West Bloomfield, we have Supervisor Steve Kaplan. And also from the City of Orchard Lake Village, we have Mayor Mark Hoffman. So thank you so much for being with us, gentlemen. So, okay, we are going to start our segment. And we're going to move on to something very common and growing in these 4 communities, and of course that is the future of planning or rethinking residential and commercial development. Supervisor Kaplan, the 2019 housing study in West Bloomfield was a significant investment for the township, so tell us what that study found.
Brooke, welcome. We hired Land Use USA. Sharon Woods is the principal person there, and we expended about $25,000. What we wanted to know is, what are our deficiencies in the township? Where can we better provide services and housing to residents and newcomers? And what we discovered is that we're sufficient in terms of senior citizen facilities, and we have an abundance of single-family homes, probably 21,000 in West Bloomfield, but we have a need for lofts, for mixed use, for apartment buildings, for attached condominiums. And because of that study that the board undertook, we now have developers seeking to purchase land and develop in the areas that we need.
So the situation is a little bit different in Orchard Lake. So Mayor Hoffman, can you please describe the city's current residential and commercial composition?
Sure, I'd love to. And you're correct. It is different. And probably the biggest reason is we're like about 4% of the size of West Bloomfield on population, population, and maybe 13% of the area, but half of the lakes, Orchard Lake's underwater, so it's like 6 to 7%. So it's a much smaller community. But we have 2,600 residents, 850 single-family homes. Most of the property is developed. There's very little vacant land. And because of that, we have a pretty stable residential population, and it's actually pretty slow, and growth is slow also. And a lot of that is driven because of the desirable property that's there, primarily the lakes. And on this, that's on the residential side. On the commercial side, we just have 2 areas of commercial, one on the south side of Orchard Lake, on Orchard Lake Road south of the city, and one on the north side. But the good news about those properties is that their occupancy rate is very good. So we're in good shape, but we're pretty stable. We don't have some of the growth opportunities that my 2 neighbors here have.
So there's been a lot of discussion about open or currently unused land in the municipalities. So back to Sylvan Lake. What do you think about that?
Well, we really just have one parcel of unused land, and this is the old Whitfield School property that's been sitting vacant for many, many years. And this will for sure be a topic in our master plan and how that piece of property should be redeveloped. And, you know, we have developers that are interested in potentially building apartments on it, but our zoning rules don't allow apartments to be built on that, at least not at the density that developers would like to develop this on. And we are having our planning commission this coming month, and one of the things on the agenda is a topic of possibly rezoning the property at the request of a developer. That developer's request is C2, and we're evaluating it, and we believe the developer is going to be bringing us more information prior to this meeting for us to consider his redevelopment request.
So if it couldn't be a housing development, then could it be a bunch of restaurants? What could it be?
It could be restaurants if it's C2 development. Right now it's actually zoned community service because there was a school on there. And then when it passed from being a public property into private hands, now there's a for sure need to do some rezoning on it, because once it's private property, a private individual deserves the right to be able to develop that property. We do have some special items in the community service zone now to allow a developer to potentially put restaurants on there and other types of businesses that would require special use. And that's not always the most, it's not optimal for a developer to have to go through a special use process. So we are considering potentially rezoning it C1, C2, or something that would be appropriate for that particular area. It's right on Orchard Lake Road. To the north or east of us, we have DTE, which is zoned industrial. And then on the other side, we have a number of fast food restaurants that are zoned C1. And so it only makes sense that that property needs to be rezoned into something that is suitable for that area.
Excellent, thank you so much. Mayor Huffman, the city of Orchard Lake has had quite a lot of consistency in taxable value. So what is the city's current taxable value and millage rate?
Well, the current taxable value is around $392 million. And it looks like it's been increasing year after year, and it'll probably increase to about $400 million next year and continue slowly from there. The city has been fortunate enough to be able to have an operating millage of around 8.32 mils for the last 3 years, and we're going to be trying to reduce that millage as time goes on. The reason it was as high as it was is we were trying to catch up for some of the things we couldn't do when we were in the down times, and so we're catching up to that, and we're hoping we're going to be able to reduce the millage from there a little bit.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. We are going to introduce from the Office of the Oakland County Executive, Dave Coulter. Joining us to speak on Oakland County's behalf tonight is Chief Deputy Oakland County Executive Hillary Chambers, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with all of these wonderful community leaders. And as you mentioned, my name is Hillary Chambers, and I'm the Chief Deputy County Executive representing our County Executive, Dave Coulter. I want to start first with what I think is on everybody's mind, and that is the spread of the coronavirus. I know that everyone finds this very disconcerting. We are being asked to really reorganize all aspects of our lives as we contribute as a community to try to help spread this virus, help stop the spread of this virus. I want to reassure everyone that at Oakland County, this is what our public health department does. They investigate these cases, they trace them back, they discover the potential exposures, they educate the public, and that is very much what we're doing now. As everyone knows, we announced our first case in the last days. But everybody also knows from hearing the news, there's going to be more cases as the tests are processed in Lansing and as more people are getting tested. So I do want to reiterate what the guidance that has been given is, and sometimes I think it feels simple to all of us, but it really is effective in stopping the spread of these viruses. So, the guidance about washing your hands is really very important. The guidance about staying home when you're sick, and we're all grappling with this as employers, but it's really important that if you feel sick, to stay home, to call your primary care physician so that they can guide you in terms of what they want you to do. They may want you to stay home for a few days while they monitor what your symptoms are. And also to follow the guidance that the governor recently put out in terms of social distancing and attending large events, which is why, unfortunately, we had to do this event without an audience, which we would have so much enjoyed. We have toolkits on our website for all different types of organizations and groups. So I would encourage people to visit oakgov.com, and on the front page of the website, it has a section on coronavirus, and we'll keep the latest information there. So I did want to kind of share that information, but I also want to kind of shift to the topic of tonight, which is really the state of, in my instance, the county. And a few weeks ago, we had the great honor of delivering the State of the County address. And the theme of it was Oakland Together. And for us, that means together in our county, leveraging our strengths and addressing our challenges, and together as active partners in our region. We've really been able to demonstrate this spirit in the last few months, working with the Board of Commissioners. In September, we once again passed a 3-year balanced budget on a unanimous basis, which has really been a hallmark of Oakland County kind of coming together on these really important matters and acting together. Also, a few weeks ago, it seems like a long time ago, but I think it was just a week or two, we took a bipartisan group of leaders from Oakland County to Chicago to meet with the rating agencies. Another hallmark of Oakland County's economic strength has been our AAA bond rating. And I'm proud to announce that we once again retained and delivered on that AAA bond rating. I think what I was struck by in the meetings with these rating agencies, whose job is to kind of evaluate your economic strength, is the story about Oakland County's economic strength and our fiscal policies is well known, but they were also very interested in our plans for the future, because that kind of tells them, that not only are we going to maintain these strong fiscal policies, but we're also looking ahead in terms of challenges that we face. And to us, I think, Dave Coulter's team, we feel a sense of urgency about the future. We feel that, Oakland County is doing well, and that is really an obligation and a responsibility to keep doing better. So we announced a couple of key initiatives during the State of the County. We announced an expansion at our public health care clinics. We found that, there were a lot of silos. So people could go to our healthcare clinics and get immunizations, but a mom couldn't get a cancer screening, or couldn't get assistance with prescription drugs or family planning services. So we've established a partnership with Honor Community Health, and we're going to be expanding services in our South and North clinics so we can provide these comprehensive services all in one place. Within 90 days, we'll be able to provide basic primary care, dental care, and family planning services. And just this week, on a bipartisan basis, the Board of Commissioners voted at the committee level to move that proposal forward. So we're very, very excited about that. We also announced a number of key economic initiatives. Oakland County has been well known for its economic development department, but we wanted to make sure that we were thinking ahead for the next 5 or 10 years. So we've gathered all the community leaders, and we've hired some outside professional experts to take a look at what should be our economic development strategy. Are all of our plans and our staff, really headed in the right direction? And so we're going to be announcing the results of those economic development strategy in the next few months. We did announce that one area where we know we have a gap is in defense. We only receive about $300 million of defense contracts, and we think we have a lot of potential partnering with Macomb to expand that work here. And defense is very much tied into the automotive industry. We have engineers and manufacturers here, so we have a lot of potential in aerospace and defense, and that's going to be a focus of ours. We also announced that we want to continue to help our county seat, Pontiac. So we're going to move a division and staff downtown Pontiac, because you all have seen the news about the businesses relocating and the resurgence that's going on in Pontiac, and we want to be a strong partner with our county seat. A key part of economic development is, of course, education. And the governor announced last year an initiative to ensure that by 2030, Michigan has 60% of its adults with a post-secondary degree or credential. And we were kind of shocked to find out that Michigan didn't have a goal like this in the past. And when you look at states around us, they had set goals, and they had really been bending the curve and making advancements at a greater pace than Michigan was. So we gathered all of our workforce leaders, our education leaders, and we have a strong K-12 system, great higher education institutions, workforce system, and we talked about the Oakland County data. And, we're already at 60%. So we thought about what do we need to do to move our county forward. And so they very much, wanted to set an ambitious goal. So we thought about where we would be in 10 years and what we would want to kind of strive for, and they wanted to set a goal of 80. So we've established a program, Oakland 80, and our goal is to have 80% of our adults with a post-secondary degree or credential. So you could have an industry-recognized credential in the building trades or in the construction areas to go into one of those fields. Finally, diversity. It's important to the county executive. We have the most diverse leadership team. I'm the first woman to serve in this position, believe it or not. And Oakland County is a diverse county, and we want to make sure that all of our efforts are inclusive and welcoming. So we're really focusing on making sure that all communities feel included in our efforts. Collaboration is really important to us with our residents, with our local elected officials, and that's why I was so pleased to be here with you tonight.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here. And again, we appreciate all the work that you do for Oakland County.
Thank you.
So thank you again. Again, that is Chief Deputy Oakland County Executive Hillary Chambers. So thank you again so much for joining us. Going back to public safety and leadership, Greater West Bloomfield is well known for being an exceptionally safe community to live in, and with all 4 municipalities focused on public safety as a top priority. So Supervisor Kaplan, I'm talking to you. One of the township's key investments in public safety recently was the new Fire Station 3, which opened in 2019. So give us an overview of that project and the station.
The former fire station did not have separate facilities for our female firefighters and paramedics. Now there are individual restrooms for each firefighter. But we think it's a very attractive building. But more importantly, we're providing safety to the community. We collaborate, by the way, with Keego Harbor, Orchard Lake, and Sylvan Lake on Fire Station number 9, Tri-City Fire's Department, and we love being their partners, and we believe we're providing good services. Recently, we passed a millage in August of 2019. It was a millage renewal for public safety, and that millage rate was about 5.978. But this way we can provide full police services, fire services, and paramedic services. We have a 4-minute response time, which obviously is very important if somebody has suffered a stroke or a heart attack. We were rated recently the safest city in Michigan, or safest township in Michigan. It varies from time to time, but that's based on FBI statistics.
Right, so some of the public safety assets that will be impacted by the new millage, and how will both those assets and the public benefit from those?
We're able to maintain 6 fire stations, including the one we share with our friends on stage. We have 82 police officers, 95 firefighters, so we're at full staffing, and that's important, Brooke, because midnights, we have enough officers on the road. So our officers, they deter crimes because they're visible in the community and in their marked police cars. and the response time is excellent, and led by Chief Michael Patton, we think we have a superb police department.
Well, you know, not only does your police department keep people safe, but they're very interactive with the community. And how important is that, do you think?
Well, among other things, it makes our residents comfortable when they know their police officers are active and that they care and they're involved in various organizations. I think it gives them comfort knowing that if a crime occurs near them or to them, that there'll be a quick response time and that whoever committed the crime will be apprehended.
Thank you. Mayor Huffman, Orchard Lake also looking into ways to improve its public safety. So in regards to the City Hall campus as well as the police department and DPW, what are some other plans that the city is looking into for improvement?
Well, before I answer that, I want to make a statement to thank the West Bloomfield Fire Department. They really do a fabulous job protecting all 3 of the cities. Did I count the number right? No, 4. And we have a really good, I know Orchard Lake Police and West Bloomfield Police and Civic and Keego, they all work together, and that's a wonderful thing, so we have that good overlap. And I'm very, very pleased that we have that. Now, getting back to your question, the current police setup at Orchard Lake has been outgrown. We've outgrown it. We're looking to improve it, to enhance the safety for the police personnel and for the people in the offices. We've got an ad hoc committee that's been going for about 6 months, and it's really all of a sudden started to pick up, looking at the best way to make changes, and they're looking at doing this at a total property, not just the police department. We don't want to do it piecemeal, so I suspect something in the next, the end of this year probably, we'll have some type of designs to be looking at, and it's well overdue.
Thank you. In Sylvan Lake, the city is also considering the future of its police department leadership. So Mayor Lorenz, the city currently operates with John Martin, covering the roles of both city manager as well as director of public safety. So the city considering whether to continue forward with both positions being covered by the same person, or do you think it's going to become separate?
Okay, this is a very excellent question, and just I would like to digress also and thank the city of West Bloomfield and the Tri-City Fire Department for the beautiful job that they do protecting all of our cities. The response time is excellent. It's one of the finest responses in the country, and it's a great benefit for all of our communities to have such a well-run operation. So thank you very much. Going back to our current situation with our city manager being both the police chief and the city manager, this is a rather unique situation. You don't usually see this in communities, but our city manager, John Martin, has done an excellent job fulfilling both roles. It's a lot of pressure on him to have both roles, as you can imagine, and he is searching for a police chief that he can hire for taking over those duties. And you know, there's a lot of things to consider, and we've considered many different options in the past. We've talked to Keego Harbor about working together with them and the police departments in a collaborative effort, possibly sharing a police chief. You know, all of our communities are pretty, especially Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, and Sylvan Lake are very small. We're all unique in our own way. Our residents love having our own police department, and it's quite clear that, you know, we want to have our own police chief and our own police department. Because it's such a small community, we're expecting a police chief that's more involved with the community and takes the job and the residents in a more personal manner. So it's it's a very difficult role to fill, because if we want to continue the idea that the police chief that is hired might become the city manager someday, you know, you have to consider this.
Has it always been like that?
No. Previously we had a police chief and a city manager, and then when we relieved our police chief, when his duty was up and we needed to find a new police chief, John took over those roles. John Martin took over that role, and since then he's been handling both duties. So this is not the city council's job to hire the police chief. It's John Martin's, because John Martin hires the chief and he does the evaluation. And so we're leaving this in his hands at the present time, and he's giving city council and the city updates on where he stands on this particular issue.
Well, thank you so much. So finally, we'd like to return to the topic of leadership. Mayor Huffman, Orchard Lake now has many retirees as it does employees. How is the city addressing the pension and other post-employment benefits obligations?
Sure. Well, like most cities, we all have to deal with underfunded liabilities for pension and what they call OPEB, which is, I have to read it, other post-employment benefits. That's primarily pensions and retiree health care for our employees. Currently, the city has, like you said, about as many retirees as we have employees, and that puts a little pressure on things. But our pension fund is currently about 77% funded. Every year, we add more to that fund, more than what's required, and we're hoping that in the next, maybe 10 years, it'll be up towards the very top. And we pay for retiree health care and current health care on an as-we-go basis. And that's going to improve with time because we made a big, the city, not I, the city made a really good decision 20 years ago because they changed it so all new employees since 2000 have defined contribution pensions and have a health savings plan for retirement. So our obligations are going to reduce with time because of that. So we're in good shape.
Excellent.
At least we think we are.
Thumbs up, yes? Well, listen, you guys have been on the hot seat for quite a while, so we are going to have you leave the stage for a little bit, and we are going to usher in our very next set of special guests. No offense, you're all special. But yeah, so we're going to give you a quick break, and then we'll be speaking to you in just a little bit, okay? Okay, thank you so much. At this time, we'd like to say thank you again for being with us. This is the second annual State of the Communities. Of course, we have a pretty empty auditorium right now, just given the circumstances of the pandemic that is now going on. In Michigan, not so much. We have 2 cases that have been confirmed, so just know that, but it is on everyone's mind, as Hillary Chambers had mentioned earlier. But earlier tonight, I did mention Sunshine Week, and this is one of the inspirations for tonight's presentations and also the panel discussions. On the national side, we have week-long celebrations which feature workshops, also panels, events, discussions, all with the goal of continuing to provide and learn new ways to provide access to public information because it is so incredibly important, especially given the times that we're in this week, even today. So Sunshine Week, the goal of providing and learning new ways to access public information and also to inspire community involvement and government transparency, which is another reason why the State of the Communities is so very important. And also another reason to foster relationships between the government and also the people that it represents. So even though it is not a packed house here tonight, we hope that you are watching and enjoying the information and really taking it to heart because it is important to know our government leaders and for them also to know us. So we are joined again. You guys did that transition pretty quick, I must say. We are joined again. Eric Pace is the assistant principal of West Bloomfield High School. Thank you so much for being with us. And on the stage from the West Bloomfield School District is the Student Ambassadors Group. So this is very interesting. I believe this is the first group, correct, that have been in place. So I'm going to let you introduce them.
All right, thank you. Again, I'm Eric Pace, assistant principal, West Bloomfield High School. And our high school is proud to introduce you to 4 of our student ambassadors. We have a group of 10 student ambassadors that are representing our schools right now with the hope of growing and expanding the program here in the near future. As ambassadors, they represent the school district, they engage in community events, and then they champion the district's mission of creating students that are best in and for the world. So tonight, the WBHS student ambassadors are going to share how they experienced the West Bloomfield School District's Portrait of a Graduate. West Bloomfield is determined to working from preschool through graduation to equip graduates with a toolkit of intangible but highly impactful skills in critical thinking, collaborating, communicating, and contributing. When coupled with our district's high academic rigor, the WBSD Portrait of a Graduate prepares our students to be some of the most desirable, employable, and valuable members of any workplace, school, university, or organization. So with that, I think we can get started talking about our portrait.
Okay, thank you so much. So probably the key element of the portrait of a graduate is the 4 C's, right? As he just mentioned. So critical thinker, collaborator, communicator, and contributor. So we're going to go in that order. So Lexi, what does it mean to be a critical thinker?
To me, to be a critical thinker is someone who looks at a problem and decides the most logical solution to the problem that would fit your needs and the people that you're working with.
Okay, so tell me what that looks like.
In a classroom setting, it would be a group of people working together and someone looking at the situation and thinking, what could I do to make this situation better? And then applying that to the group.
Okay, so how does the school apply that?
Well, for example, I'm in the Laker Learning Community, and it is a group of about 200 kids, and it involves biology, English, and civics and econ. It is based on group work, and when you do that, it has a lot of critical thinking in it. And when you do that, there's a lot of logic put into it, and it's just a lot of group work, and it's really good.
Okay, so what year are you?
I'm a freshman.
Oh, you're a freshman?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a freshman, so you still have a few more years to go. So tell me how you're going to implement the 4 C's in your life.
The 4 C's is a big part of my life. I use it every day when I'm at school or just out and about. It really helps me, well, get through life, I guess.
Well, that's important though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to learn skills in school that you know will last a lifetime, I mean, that's probably the biggest lesson of all.
Of course.
Right? Okay, so now we're going to talk about collaborators. And Dylan, this question is yours.
Yes.
Okay, so what does it mean to be a collaborator?
To basically work in a group uniquely and with oh goodness gracious.
It's okay, so working together,
working
right?
together very kindly and successfully to create a new and unique product.
Okay, so tell me exactly what does that look like to you?
I'm in the engineering program at West Bloomfield High School, and while we're in the engineering class, we're always in a group 3 or 4 more, like working to create a product that can actually be used in an industrial system and just making that product the best it can be.
So how does the school support this for you?
The school supplies money. We have a few clubs like the robotics club, and it just helps the kids get together and work together in great groups.
What year are you?
I am the class of 22, so I'm a sophomore.
Okay, so you're a sophomore. So far we have a freshman and a sophomore. Yes. Okay, so you have a little while left in school as well.
Right.
So tell me how you're going to implement the 4 C's.
The 4 C's is a very important thing in my life. I think working with a group, it will be very good using it at the college level. And when you go into your job, of course, you're going to work with other people across the nation, across the world, to basically get that product and make it successfully.
And working with others is so important.
Yes.
Like right now, we're
Right.
all working together, aren't we?
Right.
Okay, so the third of the 4 C's is contributor. Isaac, you're on the hot spot.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me, what does it mean to be a contributor?
Yeah, so to be a contributor means to play a pivotal role in your community. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create active engagement in the community. So when I go to school every day, I'm making sure that I'm giving back to the community because that's my end goal. So as a contributor, I am actively participating in my environment and looking to enhance it. I'm looking to develop on what we already have and innovate from that.
Okay, so being a contributor looks like just that, what you just said?
Yes.
Okay, what year are you?
I'm a senior.
I
You're
thought you were. 20,
yes.
Okay, so you will be making that transition soon out into real life, right? So tell me how you're going to implement the 4 C's.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, funny enough, I was actually a transfer to West Bloomfield High School. So I transferred to West Bloomfield as a junior. And what I was actively looking to do was, okay, how can I engage in my community? And lucky for me, I found the best place to create a jumping point, a place where I could learn how to be a contributor at West Bloomfield High School. So Just this last week, actually on Tuesday, I went up to Lansing with the Earth Club. We were looking to support some legislation in the state Senate. And obviously this has a direct correlation to what I will be doing in the future. This is training me to be an active contributor, participator in my community, because at the end of the day, that is what I want to do. So going forward, I love high school. I love what I'm doing in high school, but being a contributor means having a fulfilling career. Being a contributor means creating success in your community for yourself and for other people.
Okay, so out of curiosity, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm either interested in politics or broadcasting.
Oh, I could have picked both those. Thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to turn to Audrey, the communicator, okay? That's you. So tell me, what does it mean to be a communicator?
So to be a communicator means being able to effectively express your thoughts and what you're feeling to other people so that you guys can work things out and negotiate and decide on what the best solution is.
Okay, so tell me what that looks like on a bigger scale.
Yeah, so actually in our schools, we just renovated and we added this thing called flexible furniture where all of our tables and chairs are on wheels and we no longer have straight uniform desks, but instead we have round tables and rectangle tables where groups of students will sit with each other and teachers will implement group talking time during class so that students can express their thoughts with each other and always let each other know what they're thinking.
Okay, so tell me what you think about that.
I think it's really nice.
Has it made a difference?
Yeah, definitely. So instead of just, sitting in a class, you're listening to a lecture for an hour long, maybe you'll do 15 minutes of notes and you'll talk to some friends about what you think or what's going on at the moment. And yeah, so it's like a nice break and it's a good variety for a classroom setting.
Okay, so tell me how the school supports this.
Yeah, so again, like I said, there's
Right.
stuff like that. And of course, in the lesson plans, they're always incorporating talking time. We also do things called Socratic seminars where actually they are entirely student-led discussions on some sort of material that the teacher assigned before. And the adult just sits in the back of the room and lets the students do everything that they can do in the middle. And so they facilitate their own discussions. And it's a really nice way to implement communication.
Oh, maybe I should try that right now. What do you think? Okay, so of course I've asked all of them. Now I'm asking you, how are you going to, what year are you?
I'm a junior.
Okay, so you're a junior.
Yep.
So tell me how you're going to implement the 4 C's in your life.
Yeah, so communication is a crucial part of anything that you do. I'd like to be a researcher in the future, so how am I going to be able to communicate my work to the public? That's really important, and in any setting, in any work setting, any job, any personal relationships that you have, it's always really important that you're able to effectively express your thoughts to other people.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question, each of you, and you can just answer it very simply. What is the most important thing to you?
Family.
Making a difference in the community.
Jake.
Using my time to contribute to the world.
Okay, thank you so much. It has been a sincere pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you for hanging out backstage and dealing with our time. I, of course, don't know what time it is, so we're just kind of hanging by a thread here. So again, thank you for all of you to join us. For inspiring critical thinkers, collaborators, communicators, and contributors. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And of course, these are the West Bloomfield School District Student Ambassadors. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to the West Bloomfield School District Student Ambassadors. And while the leaders of our 3 communities return to the stage, I do want to tell you about Civic Center TV and Lakes FM, which is broadcasting and recording tonight's live event. Both are a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission, which is a partnership between the 4 communities. And again, that is so important to provide transparency and also communication and conversation. Lakes FM is a partnership between the Cable Commission and the West Bloomfield School District, which provides hit music from all generations, which I think we've heard a lot of that tonight. Also, public news and information about local services and community updates, which again is so important. So this is the most important part. You can watch Civic Center TV on Comcast 15, AT&T Channel 99, and of course online at civiccentertv.com. And you can listen to Lakes FM and online on lakesfm.com. So tune in. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for being back here. I thought you might have run off, so I'm glad to see you all return. I appreciate that. So earlier we spoke about public safety, and in many ways related to the safety of the public is municipal infrastructure. And of course, in Michigan, when it comes to infrastructure, I think probably the one word that comes to mind is roads, right? So Mayor Hoffman, how is the city of Orchard Lake addressing road issues in the community?
Well, the city has a capital outlay plan for all the local roads that are within the community. And from that program, over the last several years, the city has spent about $300,000 a year on average for local paving. For example, 2 years ago, the city funded the paving of Old Orchard Trail, which, believe it or not, is a local road. And we did the whole thoroughfare. So that's how we're managing it from our budget.
So does the city participate in maintaining roads in the community under the jurisdiction of the RCOC?
The roads that are covered by the RCOC, which is Orchard Lake, Pontiac Trail, and Commerce, the city works with the Tri-City program there. For example, I think it was last year, or it was 2018, the city worked with them to pave all of Commerce Road that was in our boundaries. And we actually contributed $70,000 from our general fund to make that happen. Let's just put it this way, I'm sure it encouraged it to get done.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. And Supervisor Kaplan, of course, West Bloomfield has a standing relationship with the Road Commission for Oakland County. So describe how the township relates to the Road Commission in terms of repairs and also the upkeep of municipal roads.
Cities own their roads unless they're considered county or state roads. Townships do not own roads. So all the roads in West Bloomfield, all the public roads are owned by the Oakland County Road Commission. There are some private roads, and those are owned by the subdivision associations. We have a wonderful relationship with the Oakland County Road Commission. So there are 4 areas where they help us. One is dead deer. A resident calls us, there's a dead deer on his lawn. We don't have animal control. So here's something I don't want, if I say this, don't repeat it. If the deer is moved into the street, then the road commission will remove the deer. If it's on the sidewalk, it's the township's responsibility.
You have to go out there and do it, right?
Right, and if it's on the lawn, it's the neighbor's responsibility. Potholes, numerous potholes exist. We know that. We don't own the roads, we don't govern the roads or control the roads or fix the roads, but we have such a wonderful relationship with the Road Commission. We'll call the main number, we'll talk to one of the directors, and within 3 to 5 days, oftentimes, you'll see a truck on the road filling that pothole. Also, lighting issues fall under DTE and Road Commission, but there's one area, and I think Mayor Hoffman mentioned this, and that is we enter into financial relationships with the Road Commission for preservation overlays. Well, for example, Halstead Road, north of Walnut Lake Road, and Willow Road for a 4-mile stretch west of Hiller. Those roads were completed with preservation overlays, which might last for 4 to 7 years, where the township paid half the paving costs and the County Road Commission paid half those costs. So I think our residents can take pride in the fact that we try to keep our roads in good condition, even though we don't own the roads.
Who's in charge of those roundabouts? No, just kidding. I just close my eyes and drive. No, just kidding. So Mayor Lorenz, infrastructure issues span well beyond just the roads. I think we all know that. But the renewal of Sylvan Lake's infrastructure millage coming up?
Well, it's not. What we currently have is we have a street and drainage bond that we're paying off. Okay. And that bond millage is going to roll off the tax rolls at the beginning of 2022. And one of the things about bond money is when you get the bond money, you pretty much have to use it all within a certain period of time, and it's got to be all done, let's say, within 2 years. So you get $5 million, you got to spend it all on the roads, whether they need to be all fixed or not. And so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and when this millage that is paying for the bonds goes off the books, rather than floating another millage to fund a bond, what we want to do is we want to implement an infrastructure millage. And that infrastructure millage would be used just like you would use the bond money, but it gives us much, much more flexibility. Where we don't have to use it all at once, we can go ahead and repair roads that need to be repaired when they need to be repaired. We certainly do need to repair a lot of our roads at this point because it was 20 years ago that the roads were done. We've been upgrading and maintaining the roads as we can with our out of our general fund. And the infrastructure millage would also pay for improvements in the water and sewer areas, which would help to reduce the water and sewer costs to our residents. It would also be, because it's infrastructure, would help to maintain buildings and roofs and things like that. And our residents so far have been very keen to take this and accept it, because this way we'll make sure that we keep Sylvan Lake the prettiest little city in Michigan.
Okay, so water and sewage rates, are they going up in Sylvan Lake?
We just had a city council meeting last night, and we held water rates for the city. And part of the reason why we held the water rates is because we're banking on that the residents will approve this infrastructure millage so that we can do upgrades on water and sewer. There was a small, I think, 4% rate increase in for the sewer side of the business, which we have to work with Pontiac on that. And I want to give our city manager lots of credit, because they wanted to really raise our sewer rates, and John was able to negotiate with them and really make it much more tolerable for our residents.
Well, I'm sure the residents are very happy about that,
yes,
right?
I'm sure they are too.
So lastly, Supervisor Kaplan, the township has made a significant emphasis on being eco-conscious. So provide us with some insight on these efforts and some of the results of the township's environmentally friendly approach.
We possess 1,500, or we feature 1,500 acres of wetlands and 25 acres of woodlands, and we feature 28 lakes. It's the most lakes anywhere in the United States, any city, other than one in Minnesota. So we make a conscious effort to maintain our environment in fine stead. We have an environmental commission, which is very prudent in making sure that residents don't violate the rules. We think one of the jewels in West Bloomfield, other than sharing property with our friends here, is our environmental features. The fact is that there are beautiful wetland areas, there are ponds, people enjoy riding their bicycles and seeing the lakes, and so we hope to maintain those.
So tell me, carbon neutral.
Yes.
What is that?
So the idea of carbon neutral with climate change, we are hoping to become climate neutral. One of our trustees, Howard Rosenberg, who's been on the board for 11 years, and he is the motivator behind this, and I commend him for that. So we're going to spend money, we hope, but it's money well spent for future generations. So we'll be carbon neutral.
And then household hazardous waste.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of collection events, correct? So tell me about that.
Twice per year, and this year it'll be May the 2nd and September the 24th. And our partners here, Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, and Sylvan Lake, participate. So residents can drive to Town Hall and drop off paint, batteries, appliances. They have shredding. So many of our residents are very conscious about recycling, and they want the environment to stay sound. So we have invested funds for these events, and we think our residents appreciate that, and we appreciate our residents.
So a little bit on the same topic, and I know West Bloomfield does it, but the police department actually has a dispenser in there, or not a dispenser, but it looks like a mailbox. But tell me what that is.
At the police station, 24 hours, you can submit drugs. Of course, we want the vial to be taped and not dangerous, but drugs, prescription drugs, other drugs can be submitted. Guns are accepted by our police department, all to keep the community safe and provide an option for our residents.
And I believe, does Orchard Lake do the same thing?
We have a box in our city hall for prescription drugs and any type of drug, I guess, as I think about it, so you can dispose of it safely.
And you, sir?
We would follow the same path at Orchard Lake.
Right, okay. Thank you so much. I just think it's important to mention, because a lot of times you have that empty pill bottle, or maybe there's a couple pills left and you don't know what to do with it, and you don't want to flush it down the toilet because it goes back into the system, right? So it's very important that these are made available to residents. We will cap off this year's event, I know this is your favorite part, by looking at what is probably the hallmark of these 4 of the municipalities, and that is community programs and services. So Mayor Lorenz, volunteerism is a significant part of Sylvan Lake's community organizations and programs. So tell us about this role and how these volunteers make Sylvan Lake the prettiest little city in Michigan.
Well, it is the volunteers that for sure make Sylvan Lake the prettiest little city in Michigan. We have a number of different groups. We have our Parks and Recreation group, which does just a fabulous job organizing adult activities and children's activities. They make sure that we have the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus at Christmas time. They run euchre tournaments and chili tasting contests. We also have the Home and Garden Club, which does an excellent job maintaining Memorial Park with some volunteers. They have the Ice Cream Social annually. And then one of our great volunteers are for the Memorial Day Parade, because we have a small Memorial Day Parade to honor our veterans that we've lost defending our country and providing our freedom. And Jim Smith heads that up, and he's done an excellent job. And then one of the people that probably many people know in this area is Helen Jane Peters. She's our volunteer historian and is one of the persons that was very responsible for getting all the plaques put up along the rails for trail, recognizing different things like the urban trains that ran here once upon a time from Detroit. So all these people make our city great, and we owe a great deal of thanks to them, and we really appreciate the work that they do for us.
And it really just adds so much, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does.
So, Mayor Huffman, Orchard Lake has its fair share of programs as well. What recreational activities are available?
Well, probably the biggest item is the Orchard Lake Nature Sanctuary, which the city purchased a number of years ago from Cranbrook. It's on Pontiac Trail, just west of Old Orchard Trail. It's 50 acres, and the goal there is to keep it as natural as possible. So it's primarily trails. There's a lot of other things in the area for bikes and that. This is for walking. It's the animals' home, and we get to visit. A couple other things is that we have the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society, and it's located in the Orchard Lake Museum, which is at Long Lake Road and Pontiac Trail. It's on city property. And they do a lot of things, especially around Michigan Week. They coordinate with all the other people that help, but trips to Apple Island and a lot of other things. And they have other events throughout the year. We're fortunate to have St. Mary's in the city. They have this Polish fair, St. Mary's Polish Fair, on Memorial Day, and it's really a nice family event. So I can't say it's an Orchard Lake activity, but it takes a lot of Orchard Lake activity to have it run smoothly. And they've done a lot in the last couple of years to improve their parking and car handling. And then we're all fortunate to have the DNR runs the boat launch in Orchard Lake to allow everybody the access to Orchard Lake if they have a boat. And otherwise, the only other things we do is we sneak over and use our neighbors.
You hop the fence, right?
No, I'm talking like the West, and I've lost the words, but on Hiller Road, there's a great Marshbank. And is that West Bloomfield or is that? West Bloomfield. Well, it's very nice. Thank you. I check it out for you often.
Thank you, Mayor.
And Supervisor Kaplan, West Bloomfield, much like the Tri-Cities, takes a lot of pride in their community organizations and programs as well. So tell us what some of these organizations are and what they do to provide the community with all its loveliness, right?
Well, there are various organizations, nonprofit civic organizations like the Optimist Club, the Greater West Bloomfield Coalition for Youth, and Youth Assistance, and Rotary Club. So they provide services. We have wonderful volunteers who are part of those organizations. But I would like to give credit to the Parks Commission, because West Bloomfield has a Parks Commission with a separate form of government from the township. In 1970, by vote of the voters, they became independent of us. And Jennifer Tucker, and you might know her, is the director of the Parks Commission, and they have 580 acres of parks. They have concerts in the summer. You mentioned Mayor Marshbank Park. They have concerts. They operate the trails. The Splash Park will open in July on Farmington Road near Maple. So they have very interesting programs. And they just opened up a large senior center at Orchard Mall called the Connect.
Yeah, that's brand new, right?
Yes, it is. So we consider the Parks Commission to be one of our jewels and treasures, and we, the 7 board members, oftentimes receive compliments about the Parks Commission, and we simply say thank you.
You know, real quick, tell us about the West Bloomfield Youth Assistance program.
Yes, the idea there, working in conjunction with the police department, is a youngster, a juvenile who commits a minor crime, not a violent felony, and he or she would receive counseling through youth assistance. And the idea is to keep that youngster out of the criminal justice system and to avoid having that person saddled with a criminal record.
Okay, Food Truck Tuesdays, are they coming back? What's going on?
They are every Tuesday. Gentlemen, I'm going to buy you lunch at the food trucks.
I'm crashing that party.
So Tuesdays beginning in April and ending in September from 11:30 until 1:30. The food is excellent, but it's not necessarily healthful.
Well, that's okay, right? Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure for our 2nd annual State of the Communities. It's always nice to see all of you and to, you know, ask you various questions and to hear the answers and see everything that has changed in the last year. So again, thank you so much. It has certainly been another incredible year for all of you, and we want to thank you for joining us, mayors and also supervisor. Is there anything else that any of you would like to talk about or, as we close tonight's program?
Well, I would just like to thank Civic Center TV and Dave Scott for putting this on. He does a wonderful job for all of our communities. I'd like to thank you, Brooke, for taking time out of your day to be here for us. I for sure want to thank the people who make Sylvan Lake great, our city manager, our clerks, our DPW people, and the residents for supporting all the things that we ask to make sure that our city remains the great city that it is.
Thank you so much.
And finally, be safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, all the other things that we've been hearing continuously now.
Exactly, right? How about you, Mayor?
He spoke for me.
So ditto?
Word. Thank you.
Okay.
Really, we do appreciate your help.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And you're up.
I would like to commend the 297 employees who work for West Bloomfield. We have some superb people. Many of them have worked for us for 20 years, 30 years, and they care and they service the public well, and they really are the all-stars of West Bloomfield. I also want to mention that these 2 mayors, even though they're friends of mine, they are superb mayors, and their cities are fortunate to have them.
Well, thank you so much. And with that, while everyone is saying their thank yous, I need to say my thank yous. So I would like to thank you for joining us at Abbott Middle School, and those watching on Civic Center TV, and of course listening on Lakes FM or watching the program on demand. This has been the 2nd annual State of the Communities for West Bloomfield. So again, be safe, like everyone has said. Wash your hands, and thank you so much for joining us. For Civic Center TV, I'm Brooke Allen.